Hello. Mm-hmm. Last checks. Let's listen the voice. Hmm. Seems it works. Yeah, it's working. Okay. We'll wait a little bit. Okay. Ivan Boldyrev. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but okay. He says, "Hi all. Hi Ivan. How are you doing?" Yeah. A little bit of time to start before we start. What do I need? Maybe some water. Do I have any water? Yeah. Okay. What else? I think that's all. That's all we need today. Please tell me if the sound is okay. I think I see my picture and hear my voice on the stream, but maybe it's lagging. I don't know. I am presenting from a hotel, and I cannot guarantee the quality of the internet here. Yeah, for many years straight, or like 4 years already, I am living outside of my home and traveling all across Asia and a little bit of Arab countries. One Arab country, uh, United Arab Emirates, and I don't have any access to good internet that I had at my home. But anyway, Ivan Boldyrev says everything seems to be okay. Okay, so then we can start talking about the current topic. Yeah, the topic is quite not disappointing, not depressing, not frustrating. The topic is quite how to say, important to all of us, because software engineering, IT, and the world of digital computing experiences difficult times, and we certainly have difficult times having our previous jobs and trying to navigate what to do. So I think there is a lot to discuss here. Alexander says hello. Hello, Alexander. Hello, everyone. Yeah, what about me? Well, the topic is a little bit controversial, because I'm not quite living. It's a clickbait, more or less. I'm still around IT because I have something to do. For example, I have consultancy projects. Sometimes, eventually, I have books written and being published, and probably I can do something else, but I don't do regular software engineering for maybe 3 years, because first, it is difficult to find a regular job on the current market. That's one problem. It's a common problem. It's a difficult problem for all of us. And second, I was working on my books, and I decided to to postpone my software development practice in favor of writing books. It's certainly an IT activity, but it's not a very regular activity, right? Because we still need a constant source of income. Books are not very money rich. They aren't. They don't cover the effort you spend to write them. If you take a regular rate of software engineer in IT in our dollars per hour, it will be much more efficient than writing a book and selling it, unless you are super viral, which is probably only 1% of all writers, not only IT but also sci-fi writers and romance writers and etc. You cannot live with that income unless you are super lucky. There are many other possibilities to get money when you're a writer, but it's not that money rich. So yeah. And the main question today will be what's happening, what's happening with the IT field and with us software engineers, and what can we do, what should we do, can we, and yeah, please don't hesitate to post your ideas, your thoughts. How do you see the picture? What do you think about that? Yeah. What about the general picture of software engineering as I see it? We are in the times that I call IT winter. Like winter is coming. No, it has already come. The IT winter is here, and probably not only IT winter, but all those monsters that are also coming from the north, they are here, and they certainly do a lot to ruin our software engineering field. Yeah, the winter in IT is not only a natural essential crisis, it's also a man-made crisis, a man-made situation. There are various reasons for the IT to be in crisis. Those reasons can be attributed to certain specific events and happenings in the past. First of all, how that started, right? We need to understand what were the times before they started being bad, like today. Well, we can start thinking about software engineering and IT as an industry from 1990s, I guess. 1990s. That was a very interesting times, and it was very romanticized epoch of our software engineering field, I would say, because we've been living in constant improvement of all the adjacent fields and industries. We've seen significant increase in calculation power, right? In 1990 or in 1980s, computers were slow, and they were kind of big, inconvenient, yet very, very interesting and I would say hacky. They were attracting persons of a certain mindset, hackers. There is a book, a famous book, that's called Hackers Heroes of the something, I don't remember exactly in English. This book talks about the ancient era of computing, the last hackers, not the people who break IT, not the people who intrude into the systems, but those people who try to navigate their paths in the unknown area. That were hackers. And the last hacker that mentioned in that book was Richard Stallman, and people before him. Well, that's of course an exaggeration. We can say hackers were always here in our field, maybe Linus Torvalds and others, but the book says Richard Stallman was the last hacker. Why should we argue with the book, right? And we've seen a lot of developments in our field. We've seen new processors coming with higher frequencies, with higher power. We've seen video possibilities developing. Computer games were absolutely amazing. They were games. They weren't video, how to say, movies like today. Press X to win like today, or pay to win. There were real games, and we were very happy to experience this era of game development. And they had gameplays. Well, that's certainly a difficult topic, and we certainly have many great games today, but you know what I'm talking about. Even modern folks who were never touched any game in 90s agree that it was a different approach to building games. And we started building big applications, various systems, and certainly, of course, internet. There were great times, and these times were times of opportunities. Everyone could try to build a startup and eventually become a huge, significant, important company on the market. And this spirit of entrepreneurship that started in I would say in Silicon Valley, it was what was driving the IT industry that time. And we've seen and we naturally felt the rise of IT. We couldn't even argue what were the exact things that made us thinking that everything is growing, but we still naturally felt this rise, right? And it was a very great good time for us to develop our skills and pockets, money, and knowledge, and networking, and everything. You know, there were conferences, there were meetups, there were startup meetups, there were various communities working together and peacefully creating new stuff, open source, private things like, for example, Microsoft or Google or what else. And open source was kind of a strange area of our IT. Some significant part of the IT world believed that open source is just a toy and nothing more. The real IT is in companies. It's a private products, and commercial products, and open source wasn't something to consider. But today we know that the history said open source is what was really important, because most of our systems use open source on significantly, right, on a big fraction of its undercover source code and systems. So open source kind of won. It's still not very richful in terms of money, because it's difficult to make money doing open source, but still we software engineers were very enthusiastic doing work for all. In some sense, open source was communism in a local corporate world. More or less communism, right? We bring what we can and we receive what we need, kind of. Yeah, it was that type of communism that united people for common growth and common wealth, and people were friendly, more or less. There were several issues and incidents. For example, Linus Torvalds, he is a strange person. He is a genius for sure, but he is very, very inconvenient in terms of communication. And yeah, we have a lot of memes with Linus and his style of government, but still, that's not the indicative approach of all IT. So we were very friendly in every possible way. There were some difficult interactions for sure. People could not argue properly on that or this, but in general, open source was a good place to live. But at some point, something strange started happening, and IT started being kind of a place not for all common growth and wealth for all, not a place to strive for the future, but rather a place to tribalize, and a place to divide people on certain merits or maybe on certain criteria. And when we started dividing each other, who is right, who is wrong, and there are people we don't want to know about, and there are people we are friends with, we started doing various wars between small tribals of people, and that was a sign of a disaster. And it started, I guess, 10 or maybe 15 years ago intensively, because we've seen something of that 20 years ago maybe. And 15 years ago, we as an industry were a very big field, and nothing could be seen as a problem, because, well, shit happens. In here we have some drama, but maybe it's a small something in terms of a big IT industry, and maybe it's okay. We just solve this small problem and move on. We've thought it is okay, and it's an essential property of human beings, but that it turned out that without the idea of keeping people apolitical, we could end up as we did right now. Everything is politicized. Everything is very sharp and very dangerous, and it's difficult to do interactions because everything can be a source of a problem for a person if the person decides something contrary to a group of others, or occasionally does something that is not accepted in a certain group. And this problem of being in a constant danger, what ruins open source today actively. And I have a lot of examples of that. If you are interested, I can discuss them. But it seems we are witnessing not kind of the end of open source era, but maybe a significant transformation of that important subfield of our IT industry. This was one of the signs that IT winter is close and it's coming. Let me read the chat first. AB says hi. Well, hi. Vernant Hisamov, sorry if I'm incorrectly pronouncing your name, you can correct me, says it does not mean that you should leave programming. He says also in Russian "Собаки лают, караван идет," which is in English like the dogs are barking and the caravan is moving on. Yeah, I understand what you mean. We will return to the reasons of the IT winter, but I understand what you mean. Yes, it's still possible to find a place in IT, right? And okay, you will spend maybe 6 months, maybe more or less, to find the job, especially if you are a developer in a niche language like me. Well, I can certainly return to C++ or maybe C#. Even Python, I have a decent experience of Python. Yes, I really can find a job. But it's not about the momentum. It's about a strategy. A strategy in IT. Yeah, of course, IT will not go anywhere because we have so many systems to support, to improve. We have so many areas to automate yet, a lot of them. And we probably have many blue ocean areas with no current offerings from the market. Maybe it's another area for a big company to emerge. For example, some robotics. We wait for the robotics era in the world. This will spark a huge IT market. Right? Isaac Asimov has already predicted the shape of the world in the presence of robots, and this world will be certainly absolutely interesting and challenging in many ways, and even challenging in the ways Asimov could not imagine, and we can't either. So yes, there are yet fields or directions to develop IT, and even more, we have many countries with internal products and services underdeveloped, right? And a lot of things to do actually. But I would say, if we want to have a chance of an opportunity to grow like crazy, like we did before, those times are in the past. Or maybe you are extremely lucky. For example, I cannot imagine myself creating an IT company and hoping for becoming a 1 billion company income, for example. I cannot imagine that unless I'll get extremely lucky. And even the Silicon Valley itself and the people in the Silicon Valley, they experience a huge challenge in doing the things the old way. From what I've heard about the Silicon Valley, the old spirit of startups is no more, and it becomes increasingly more difficult to create a company, to get an investment, and not to be closed by the reasons other than technical or business. They mostly experience difficult times with financial I would say with finance, because there are taxes, there are new taxes. I'll tell about that. There is a huge inflation of money. There is a huge inflation of prices, right? And also there is a enormous pressure from the current IT players, and this enormous pressure is a form of gatekeeping, so that new companies would not emerge. There is a maybe not a formal, right? Not a formalized, not a agreed upon desire of corporations, IT corporations, to gatekeep IT and to prevent new companies from emerging. That's a huge strategic blunder for the IT. Let me read the chat. German Danilov, hello Alex, nice to see you, says him. Yeah, hi German, nice to see you too. German is my in English. We were studying together in the university. Alexander says, what you're talking about has happened before, like there was always cool kids in school and other kids. Yeah, I can agree with that we don't experience something new. Yes, we have some, there are distinct properties of those happenings and current happenings, but still something is new, and something was known before, right? Has happened before. But yeah, we can touch that as well. Vernat says, you also have Rust as an option. Yes, I do. If you are interested in discussing Rust as an option, we can, because Rust, I wish Rust to survive. Yet there are signs and in some indicative happenings in Rust that also do not make it very appealing. There are some challenges really with Rust. Ivan says, what do you think? Is it worth to learn Haskell now, or job market decreased? I think, well, yes, let's talk about that a little bit and then continue with the idea. So Haskell, as you probably know, you folks know definitely, but maybe those who will watch this online, I am a Haskell expert and I wrote several books. Let me probably show you, because why not? So I can say I know about Haskell a lot. And yeah, I wrote Functional Design and Architecture. It was my first book. Initially started as a mining publication book, and then I published it myself with LeanPub, and eventually created a different version of that book for mining later. So yeah, and then I wrote Pragmatic Type Level Design, also published on LeanPub, self-published, and the next version of it is a Russian publication in Russia. So yeah, I wrote a lot and can say about Haskell, but many Haskellers still don't believe me, or even actively make me actively oppose me when I say that Haskell today is a dying language. It's mostly dead, in the sense that you probably won't see it existing on the market in 5 years. Well, yes, there are several things that will stay. For example, Cardano. For now, this blockchain is quite stable, and I mean stable in terms of existence, and probably won't go anywhere unless we see all the blockchain industry crumbling, which is not very probable. Haskell will stay in certain areas, for example, in finance, in banks. Yet I can say JustPay, Indian company, that was the biggest Haskell company in India, and I helped them with that significantly when they weren't yet Haskell company. They started moving from Haskell and PureScript to Rust, and probably this won't be the last hop between the technologies. And I've heard many other stories of companies refusing or dropping Haskell because, well, there are various problems. There are various reasons for Haskell to be not on par with the modern era. It's a very paradoxical situation, and we can talk about that if you want. So I would say learning Haskell is yet a good option for your development skills and your skills as a software engineer. And also it's very interesting because mind-blowing. If you want to change your mind, Haskell is a perfect choice. But I would say learning it for a future career, not a very good idea. Maybe you can, for example, get a job in several countries, for example in the USA, but probably not elsewhere. Okay, so yeah, I would say it's a very sad story. Okay, so yeah, let me read the chat again. Vernat says cool. Thank you. Not sure what cool is, but okay. Alexander says I have a paper copy of functional design architecture book. Oh, that's very nice. I'm glad. Do you mean that one from Manning, or maybe a rare issue that I published myself in paper? There is a paper version of this self-published edition. If so, yeah, I have 20 more copies at my home in Novosibirsk, and I tried to sell them and ship them worldwide until customs stopped me doing so. They said you cannot sell books outside of Russia, and because you're probably a bad guy, something like that. So I even visited Belarus, Minsk, with 10 paper copies to send them to my important readers, because many readers bought the first paper edition of this book, and I could not deliver. Not because of my personal fault, but because of the idiotic Russian customs. Yeah. So yeah, there is a deep story there. Hopefully we will see pragmatic type level design soon in Russian, because it's in print already. We've prepared it, and I believe it will occur on the market this month, I hope. Well, okay, that's just a little bit of can I read the chat? Alexander says, what about a Russian book? When did you write it? Do you mean this one? Проектирование на уровне типов. That's a direct translation of pragmatic type level design. They are identical. One is in English and another one is in Russian. I refused to translate it, so some other person did that, the translation, and I just fixed a lot of things in the translation. For example, the person incorrectly translated nucleotides to Russian, and there is some philosophical discussion about emergent systems, and I just mentioned nucleotides, how to pronounce in English, and the person translated it incorrectly, losing the meaning. Well, I fixed it a lot, so yeah, hopefully it will be more or less correct. So I didn't, it's not the new book. I consider these two books, Functional Design and Architecture, different because they have maybe 70% of the material rewritten completely from one to another, so they are different, but these two are the same. Okay, thank you for asking. Let me continue probably. Alexander says, why Jasper is moving to Rust? That's a very interesting question, because I can speculate. And first to mention, they had different languages in their stock. They trade Groovy. Some sources were written in Groovy. It's a Java-like language, Java-like JVM based. So they started from Groovy. Then they tried JASPay. Oh no, JASPay was JavaScript. They then tried JavaScript for their financial systems and decided JavaScript doesn't provide for this type of software, because it's so difficult to write reliable software in a dynamic language. Yet I would say the way they write code doesn't make much difference if it's a dynamic language or if it's a statically typed language. They do not strive for correctness as many Haskellers do. They just create systems and then improve those systems, eventually fixing bugs, and they say moving fast. They call it moving fast. But anyway, then after JavaScript, they wanted to try something else, and people, developers, wanted a functional language, Haskell eventually. But taking Haskell from the start was intimidating to them, and they started from pure script, which is also a language for web, but it can do backend. It transpiles to JavaScript and has a natural, essential interop with JavaScript, quite easy. Yet it's a Haskell-like language, hugely Haskell-like, because it shares a lot of ideas with Haskell, except laziness and several key features. For example, pure script has extensible records, Haskell doesn't. Pure script doesn't have that rich type system. It's limited compared to Haskell. Everything limited to compared to Haskell, except maybe several languages. But PureScript is especially limited. Yet they wanted to switch to a Haskell-like language, and they did. I helped with that. Then the story moved to Haskell itself. So they wanted to replace Haskell with PureScript with Haskell because they thought it will be more efficient and more performant, which is probably true. And also I helped with that significantly. I wrote several frameworks for them, and many financial systems they create are based on my frameworks, which were of course created with the ideas from the books. So yeah, there is an interesting story behind that. But then they decided Haskell is kind of slow, or maybe it's not very well supported, or maybe we just want to do something else. The developers in JustPay, they have a vote in what to try next. So they argued Rust will be a good choice and also not a boring one. So yes, they started building some services in Rust, and even they even did some open source, and that's a very strange story because their Hyperswitch open source project is a financial backend with payments backend with a lot of features, and you can see the business logic. It's open, it's visible to you. You can even try to contribute, but yet having a business logic open to the world is a bit dangerous. So a very strange project. Yet this is a fact. Okay. Yeah. So why? Because they want it. They can, and they want. Let's move on. Alexander says, I mean, with beautiful cover. With beautiful cover, do you mean orange one? Sorry, that doesn't work. Do you mean the orange one? Well, okay, yeah. That was the story. Let's read the chat. Ivan says, so if Haskell is dying, what FP language is stable or rising? Neither of them. Functional programming itself is kind of a mainstream today, but functional languages aren't. They are all experiencing a significant issue of getting into the market because, well, there are several reasons: political, technical. One of the reasons is that the IT winter is a risky time. You cannot just do stuff as usual as previously. Everything should be justified. Any misplaced step, any small mistake, and you are out of the market, or you are out of the general trends, and that's it. And you cannot survive on this market, in this economy. Economy is not very good, right? The world economy experiences other new challenges we've never seen before, probably. So yes, that's a risky time, and any language that offers more risks than benefits will also be a controversial choice for the companies. Any functional language is controversial. It's risky. Any functional language is risky. Scala, Elm, Clojure, Lisp, Haskell, what else? They all are genetically the same in terms they were late to the table. They could be mainstream languages. They could be. They could have their roots deep into the industry, but they failed. I have a talk, functional programming failed successfully, and I explained the reasons why this happened, what prevented the languages, functional languages, to grow and to become important languages. Well, they are kind of important in terms of ideas, right, and concepts, and reasoning in general. They are inspiring other languages, and language creators see that there are good ideas, and they adopt those ideas into mainstream languages, which is another reason why functional languages are increasingly irrelevant today, because everything you can do in a functional language you can do in a mainstream language. Not very maybe in a suboptimal way, not a very efficient way. For example, we don't yet have algebraic data types, real algebraic data types in the mainstream languages. In C++, no. In C#, not really. In what? In JavaScript? Are you kidding me? Algebraic data types in JavaScript? Oh yeah, and etc. and etc. And also, dynamic languages essentially won the race, right? JavaScript and Python are the two top languages. Yet most of functional languages are dynamic, not dynamic, static. Scala, Haskell. Yeah, there is a Clojure, for example. There is Erlang. And kind of, but you know, it's a very it's very difficult for a language to get popularity today. So yes, Haskell will not get that popularity, even if they decide to pursue that popularity. Currently they don't. Even Haskell Foundation, which was created maybe 5 years ago, I don't remember exactly. They had an idea to make Haskell an industry language, but it was only a pose. It wasn't something really they can do. They don't understand in the industry. Not all Haskellers, but most of them. And they don't understand pragmatism, they don't understand software engineering, they don't understand delivering results, they don't understand how to be useful to business, and even more, they started doing politics instead of delivering value, which is also not very good. And this how to say, flow, or maybe a dangerous activity, dangerous idea of modus operandi of functional communities to do politics instead of delivering value, what ruins them. So no, unless we have those issues solved somehow, which I don't believe will happen, unless we stop doing destructive politics in functional languages, unless we start treating people on their merits and their real knowledge, and unless we start being intellectually honest, we won't see functional languages to be any relevant today. Let's read the chat. Alexander says, not many. Yes, orange one. I see. Yeah. Okay. Let me remove the picture and So we stopped on the moment when everything was fine, but started being very started crumbling bit by bit. So the IT was okay, it was growing. Today it doesn't grow, right? And I want to talk about the reasons why and what happened. I named several reasons already, but maybe there are certain facts that we need to mention. Well, first of all, the Silicon Valley was the heart of IT. We cannot deny that. Sure, India, maybe a little bit of Russia and Ukraine and other Slavic countries, and maybe a little bit of other countries, they were always IT countries, right? They had great developers. Yet we cannot deny that Silicon Valley is the biggest innovative hub of IT. At least it was, right? So what is happening today in the Silicon Valley? From what I know, they don't do the things they used to do previously. They don't meet as they used to meet before COVID. They don't create startups as they used to do. It's not the atmosphere and not the environment that was 10 years ago. COVID was a significant point in time when the things started being very unusual and dangerous for the IT. The COVID and lockdowns they didn't initiate the decline of the IT, but they made it more fast moving, fast developing. The decline got an additional impulse when lockdowns happened, because before lockdowns we've seen the decline of the world IT economy and the rise of political discrepancies between people, between groups, between political philosophies, and this overall atmosphere of opposing to each other in a hostile way, in a very hostile way. It started dominating over the peaceful interaction of people. Everything started being politicized. Yeah, I'm talking about the ideology, of course, and the way certain groups in America, I mean certain political groups, for example, the Democratic Party and their allies, they started pushing agenda that was very invasive and destructive, as the history shows, very invasive and destructive to talents, to products, to content, in all the spheres, to human interactions. And we see how those seeds are growing through the various fields. For example, Hollywood and movie making, everything is so bad, absolutely talentless, absolutely uninteresting. The IT services started spying for their clients, and less freedom in those services, more and more bloated software, more and more money needed to keep up, and software doesn't belong in software is not yours anymore. You cannot just own something. You don't own anything. All the freedoms were challenged, and many freedoms were taken from us. And this started before COVID, before 2020, maybe 5 years before, maybe 10 years before, but 5 years before COVID, it was a huge effort to push ideology instead of merit, and to ruin the very foundational property of our human beings, the property of trust. Everything is built with trust. Markets operate with trust. Without trust, they cannot operate. Human interactions, yes, you can say we sign contracts, agreements, and there are juridical systems, and if you did something wrong, something that is not in the contract, you will be punished, and etc. But yes, but essentially it's also trust. All the systems are built on top of trust in some way, because yes, you can try to find some justice in a court, but if you don't trust the court, if the court is corrupted, there is no point in trying to find justice, and your agreement will not do much, because there is no trust, not in the agreement, but in the more foundational system, in the court system, and there are even more foundational systems, and this ideology started destructing all the levels of trust one by one. So we found ourselves fighting for the essential and basic freedoms, and this also touched IT significantly, and made it suffering from our inability to build trust, or maybe from our momentum losing of the trust. So yes, that was the most significant problem. I'm not saying about financial systems eventually experience some crises, right? They don't last forever. They just collect more and more entropy, and eventually they start experiencing some crises, which is fine. Actually, we cannot reduce this essential and natural property of any system. Entropy is a very difficult enemy to fight, so we need to fight it in some way, and we need to think about that. And entropy can be considered in every system, and there are phases of entropy in every system. So yes, unless we fight it, unless we try to fix the problems before they emerge, we will see crises, or maybe we will see deeper crises than they needed to be. So yes, IT was this kind of system, which was quite a reliable system. It was 2020 when COVID has come, right? And when we were locked down in our flats, and since then the situation has gotten worse and worse and worse. Okay, it's one problem. Another problem is the world economy, because lockdowns they were compensated by governments with huge free money, and that free money could do something useful, right? That money could help companies to stay relevant, to stay on the market without income, because everyone is sitting at home and nobody is paying for services. They could do that. But what did the companies, especially big companies and corporations? They started investing that money into very risky activities, and started forgot about development, they started doing more money while they could. And this money was very risky and bloated, and eventually it hit back. The problems returned in form of the inflation. So yes, we have an inflation of dollar, of prices, and inflation of services. So yeah, also that money was used to hire a lot of people who are unqualified. Unqualified people in software IT is another huge significant problem, because we don't strive for quality anymore. That's not the value. It's not a value. We now do hacking and quick dirty programming with the idea we need to move fast, and if we don't want to be thrown out from the market, if we want to conquer that market, we need to move fast, which is a significant and a huge mind flaw. Because what is the mindset of such person or company or businessman? I came to the market with an idea. Now, if I'm very slow, everyone else will implement that idea. If I'm slow, I will not be successful. But they forget many people before them were thinking about that idea and were implementing that idea. Many people after them will be implementing similar ideas. It's not that the idea started being relevant at the moment you came to the market. It's your wrong idea. It's not the truth. The truth is that you are very enthusiastic and just want to spend your energy without proper reasoning. It's not a critical thinking. It's not a rational thinking. It's your energy that you don't know how to spend in a better way. So you start thinking unreasonably, and this makes IT companies and people saying we need to move fast, we cannot be slow, we cannot do things properly, because it's slow, it will hold us and make us lagging behind, which is absolutely untrue. In software engineering, doing things more or less with a quality doesn't make you slow. I know that because I have a blessing. I was blessed to work in several projects that were made properly, and they didn't made us moving slow. Even contrary, we were very fast in average, and we've been new. It was very clear what to do next. We could not. We could move on without being stuck. So yes, doing things properly in software, in IT, is not a bad idea, but rather it's a situation when we don't have enough qualified people, and they say we cannot afford to do things properly, we need to move fast, and your software engineering is a lie, and nothing of that is needed. Just hack, just deliver features without thinking how good your code is, how good your system is, and that's a significant problem that ruined software engineering as such. We still have software engineering as a scientific discipline, right? In universities, in books like mine, but we don't have software engineering as a practice anymore. I mean, we don't have it as ubiquitous practice. There are several areas when software engineering is absolutely needed and cannot be avoided. There are good projects, but 95% of the projects, my personal evaluation, are made without practices of software engineering. Even if a person says, I use software engineering, what are you talking about? Many software developers are unqualified in these terms. They think that writing code is itself software engineering. It's not. Software engineering is engineering, and I have a talk about can functional programming be engineering, and I argue there are essential properties of engineering that should present so that we could say it's engineering, because in some sense our field is not different from other engineering fields, but we redefine the word engineering. We as people who practice, who do stuff, who write code, which doesn't mean this definition is correct. It's not correct. We replaced the meaning of the word. Well, that's certainly a sign of a property of our time, redefining words to mean something else, which is another problem that comes from the ideology. Maybe I can talk about that later if you want, but let me read the chat. Ivan says, how is life in overall in Vietnam? Do you like current workplace? Let me pause my speech and answer the questions. Sure, you can ask. What is life in Vietnam like? Well, I'm here for several weeks. I've been here several times also before. Currently in Nha Trang, in English Nha Trang. I don't know how to pronounce in English, but in Russian it's Nha Trang. It's a small city. There is a sea here, with a nice beach, and a very good street, and enough green and enough beach parks. So I feel very good walking along the coast. So yes, it feels very nice, and the food is excellent, of course. Well, not as excellent as in Bangkok or as in Kuala Lumpur, but it's okay. It's nice. It's good compared to Dubai's food, which is not good. So yeah, I don't do IT at the moment. I don't write books. I don't work on some projects. I don't even do personal projects. I have GitHub with many various experiments and personal projects. I don't do that anymore, but I write sci-fi. So for me as a writer, Nha Trang and in Vietnam and Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia are the two best places for writing. It's very convenient to have everything around you, to every infrastructure that can be reached in minutes, and you don't need to be distracted by thinking. For example, you in Dubai, you need to think what to eat. Of course, you can use delivery, of course, but sometimes you need to walk and think. You as an author. So in Dubai, you cannot easily walk. It's not a city for pedestrians. It's not a city for people. It's a city for cars and maybe for helicopters, I would say. But here in Nha Trang, walking is very nice. So yes, I use that to walk and think, and it's very convenient. Yeah. Alexander says, what about food in Dubai? Why is it bad? Yeah, well, first of all, Dubai doesn't provide you any cheap food with a good quality compared to Thailand, to Malaysia, to Vietnam. There is no cheap good food in Dubai. If food is not good, it's cheap. If it's good, it's expensive. It's times expensive than food in Asia. For example, in Vietnam and here, the food is 3 or 4 times cheaper than in Dubai, and 2 or 3 times better in quality and in choice. The variety of food in Asia is one order above Dubai, because in Dubai you can have Arabic food, which is identical from place to place. It's too I don't know the exact terms in English, but you know, it's blatant. It's not very tasty. It's very very uninteresting, I would say. There are Chinese restaurants in Dubai. For example, PF Changxi or Changs. I don't know how to pronounce it. They are good. They are good, but they are expensive. There were Asian food restaurants, Asian kitchen, for example. It was shut down recently. I don't know why. There are some Chinese and Asian foods and Japan foods on the food courts. For example, Chinese panda or something else. They are more or less okay. Not very best, but okay. Everything else, there were Russian food restaurants. Some of them closed. One was in Dubai Marina. Its name was Veranda. It's now closed, and there is no such restaurant anymore. Italian restaurants, there are good Italian restaurants. For example, in Mall of the Emirates, there is a small Italian restaurant with excellent pizzas. It's only one. Maybe there are more, but there is a great restaurant of Iraqi food from Iraq. It's in the Al Garhoud Mall. Very, very good. Absolutely. Yet it's very expensive. There are almost no hot pots, good hot pots in Dubai. They are controversial, and one of them is in Al Garhoud Mall on the Union Station, and one of them, a Chinese hot pot, is in Sharjah. Excellent one. They are expensive, but excellent. Yeah. And I can name other reasons why Dubai food is not very good. And also I feel some pain when drinking water in Dubai. The water has some properties, some chemicals I don't know, or maybe lack of chemicals that makes my stomach feeling not good. Here in Vietnam, I feel excellent, absolutely excellent. So yeah. Okay, so what else? What else do you want to discuss? You can ask questions, and I can return to my final points. We see IT winter is developing, right? Is there any chance for us to get more or less the same atmosphere and the same, how to say, environment and maybe enthusiasm as we had in 1990s and 2000s? Is there a chance for the IT to survive and recover? Survive, of course, yes. That's not a question even, but recover to the previous levels of goodness. I think yes, and yet we have a huge bubble of AI it's another interesting property of IT. It became hype driven. Significantly started with blockchains. It was a very strange and unreasonable hype that made companies introducing and embedding blockchains even if they didn't need it, because everything needs blockchain. We need blockchain developers, we need own blockchain and coins and etc. And huge money started being pushed into that field, into that area. And yet today blockchains are useful only in certain phases, in certain areas, for example in money transferring, but not more. Blockchains have huge variety of features: loans, unique ownings, for example unique properties to hold as a blockchain, I don't know, payments and money transferring, etc, etc, etc. But no, it is not that popular, and everything is related to some risk of being a scam. A lot of scam in blockchain. It's a super gray area. It is here today, but who knows what will happen the next day. Maybe you will face issues with withdrawing money and dealing with blockchains from certain places. In certain countries blockchains are prohibited, in certain countries blockchains are more or less supported, but who knows what will happen next. So it was a huge unreasonable bubble and the first significant hype of the industry. The next significant hype of the industry is AI for sure, and this makes more money flowing into the field and being stolen by unfair players. The hype needs to be supported, and the companies are hiring people not on base of merits, skills, or qualifications, but rather just because. And a lot of money was transferred to grifters in blockchains, in AIs, in other IT fields that are hype driven. We experience a certain percentage of grifters in IT, and this percentage is increasing. We have more and more grifters in IT, more and more unqualified people, or people actively parasiting, how to pronounce, parasites. They parasiting on our field, and this ruins, this destroys our field bit by bit. So yeah, in 1990s we had only enthusiasts and honest people and people who wanted to build future. Today we see IT is a way to achieve goals that are unfair, unjust, and not necessarily useful, not necessarily helpful, not necessarily healthy for the industry and for the mankind. So yes, that's another reason. As any big system, the IT field has collected a lot of entropy, right? And we don't have many tools to fight that entropy. We don't have many ways to reduce it. We could kind of reduce the entropy with market dynamics, but the market is experiencing a bad time, so it cannot fight entropy effectively, because on the market today, also thanks to the ideology, we see talents are not needed. Talented people, and quality, that's not a value anymore. And more is driven by attention. It's not an economy of delivery and product. It's an economy of attention, of parasiting. People are parasiting on other people. They found a way to pump money from the industry because they are not constrained by any moral meanings. So they see holes in our systems, and they use that holes, abuse those holes, and pump money, attention, and power from our systems, leaving talents, quality, even meaning, leaving meaning behind. They don't need meaning. They do not think strategically. They just pump everything they can from our industry. That's another huge, significant problem that cannot be solved easily. So this is why we have the IT winter. What is in the chat? TDA says, hi there, Alex. Hello. TDA says, if you had to start your software engineering education and career today, what would be the top 3 strategies you would consider? Do you mean if I wanted to teach people even beyond what I do, right? For example, doing courses. If that's what you meant, then yeah, there are various opportunities for me as a teacher, because I can create a course on software engineering in functional language, in functional languages in general, in functional programming in particular. And there is a lot of areas to teach people, because kind of unexplored area. Software engineering in functional programming started emerging only recently. I have another talk about that on my channel. Yet it's the time when software engineering is not needed, so it's difficult to sell this knowledge. People just don't see any value in what you do. You cannot be a respectful person if you provide knowledge. Even I personally think this knowledge must be built, because it's truth. Truth must be built because it's truth. We cannot move on as a humanity without building truths. So yes, I wrote my books, for example, because I know they won't be popular, especially in Haskell, in the Haskell community, that en masse canceled me, more or less. We can say they canceled me because they share the modus operandi of academia and of the violent left ideologies, and they try to push people out of the circles if those people seem unlike them, if those people say something they don't like. So yes, kind of my knowledge is not needed, not because it's false, it's truth, but because of the ideological and social dynamics. But if I wanted to be an educator, I could create a course. For example, there are various places in the internet to create the course. For example, on LeanPub, or maybe Udemy, how to pronounce that site, or something else. Courses are everywhere, and most of them are created by people less educated than you might think. They are just good market sellers, good social engineers, and they create something and sell this trash to others. We call it in Russian we call it info-цыгане. People who don't really know what don't really have any real knowledge, but can sell anything, can sell everything. So they do. They don't need to improve themselves. They just need to make other think they are good. So that's why we have a negative connotation on the making of education in IT. Another option is to be a teacher in a certain institution, for example, in university. I tried to connect with some people in universities, no success at all. I've sent about 15-30 letters to various people, to various general emails, to certain persons directly, and no response, nothing. I proposed to meet, to talk, to find common opportunities. Maybe I can visit their campuses and to talk to them and to their students, something like that. Different offerings I suggested. No response, because academia today is a joke. They do not want to interact with someone outside of their circles, and they do not want to build truth. So yeah, another problem, right? One more way is to do talks on conferences or workshops. Maybe not necessarily on conferences, but maybe in general talks and workshops, and provide this knowledge. So educate people. And the fourth way is to be a streamer or a blogger in any way. So you can build your channel and push content more and more and more. Unless there is a problem here. If you want to be a blogger, you need to build content. That's not necessarily education. That's mostly entertainment. Content is a huge, cancer. Is a huge cancer of our time, because content is not art, is not creation. It's just a flow of materials to get attention, nothing more. You do not learn from content much. You just spend your time. You waste your time without feeling you do that. And content is what you need to create if you want to be visible. Without creating content, you cannot survive on the platforms. Platforms value not creativity, not value, but attention seeking. Nothing more. They don't need anything else. They don't need truth. You can create a disgusting content. You can create fakes, a lot of fakes on the platforms. Enormous quantity, the word quantity, enormous quantity of fake and false things on the platforms. Nobody cares, because people are stupid in general, and they are okay in consuming this nonsense. That's a problem, and you have to deal with that. This is why I don't really do any content. I don't really produce more and more stuff. But yeah, if you want to, you can. But knowledge is not very valued today, unfortunately. Not only in software engineering, it's not very valued in general. And a significant problem in novel, in art, in sci-fi, in fantasy, in other forms of literature, in cinema, in everything, everywhere else. We don't have content equality. We don't have equality. How to say? You know, it's not a value anymore, unfortunately. So it's difficult to provide something useful for humankind. Yeah, but those are the strategies. There will be niche areas of quality, and there are still people who need that, right? The question is how to find them and how to make your knowledge useful for them. Because when the knowledge is not needed, you can hack something without any qualification, especially thanks to AI. This doesn't sell in general. Yeah. Alexander says, why AI is unreasonable for you? LLMs can solve tasks which you couldn't get solution using traditional algorithms. I didn't say, if I remembered correctly, I didn't say AI is unreasonable. AI bubble, AI hype is unreasonable. But certainly AI itself as a technology is extremely useful, and we cannot avoid it. It's our current moment, it's our future, and we are not in Dune of Wells. Herbert Wells, sorry, not Herbert Wells. In a Dune, who is the author? Herbert, right? They prohibited AI because AI started ruining their civilization. So we are not at that point yet, and AI will be with us in maybe many years. So I use AI for sure for various tasks. I use GPTs, I use copilots, and etc. And it helps tremendously. I don't use it for creating my value and knowledge, because GPTs do not write well. They write awful texts. Well, humans do as well. Writing as an activity is a skill, and GPTs do not have this skill. They do not have abstract reasoning. Many people don't either. And building something unusual, something novel, no, they can't do that. They can only perpetuate the flaws and myths that people put into them. We have a lot of myths everywhere, a lot of mind flaws and unreasonable content and unreasonable come on, I started forgetting my words. Maybe I'm a bit tired. So yeah, AI will freeze the current insufficiency in our societies. It will freeze the current technology, because re-educating AI is difficult and expensive. If you created a knowledge after an AI was created, then your knowledge will not get into that AI more likely. And in sometimes one time in the future we will have a problem of updating AI, a huge problem, because the world is trying to move, right? It's not sitting on the same knowledge, on the same philosophy. It's moving, but AIs don't. They are not AGIs yet. They cannot adapt. So that's a problem. We can only issue new versions, which is super expensive, right? Yeah, I'm a proponent of AIs. I don't think it's a bad technology. I think it's more or less dangerous in many ways, but not as dangerous as people. We have a lot of dangers from other places, not from AI yet. So yeah, that those are my ideas. Those are my thoughts about the current situation in IT. What do I want to do next? I don't have plans to write any books unless the situation in Haskell changes, which I don't believe in. It will, unless the situation is changes and intellectual honesty prevails, which I don't believe it will, because functional languages and communities have a huge cult-like behavior, and they don't want to be open-aid or open-minded. They declare they are open-minded. They declare things like we have freedom of thought, we have more or less reasonable admins, moderators on our sites. For example, on Haskell Discourse, the moderators are more or less reasonable, more or less. On Reddit, I wouldn't say so. Reddit itself is a garbage site already. It's absolutely ideologically captured and absolutely unreasonable. No critical thinking at all. No tolerance of opinions that are not like them, etc. It's absolutely horrible. So I don't believe the situation will change drastically. It must change drastically for me to continue writing something for those languages. So I'm writing sci-fi because I was always an author of various novels and short stories. I started writing my stories even before I entered the IT. So today I want to create something significant in this field. You know, today reading today is a very how to say, недооцененный in Russian. I don't forgot the word. Reading today is not the activity people consider, right? They consider TikTok, games, movies, everything else, alcohol, and etc., but not reading. And reading is dying slowly. So entering this field is also not strategically wise. But I don't do this for my strategic domination, I would say, but for the idea of making something significant. I like this activity, and I know how to do it better than 95% of all the content we have, because sci-fi is not sci-fi today. Fantasy is not fantasy today, it's content, and also there are other indications that this content is made for attention seeking, for pushing agendas, and for keeping people more stupid, not for making people more smart and reasonable. I reject everything of that. I do it differently, as other great authors did. I hope to be as significant as, for example, Lem, Strugatsky, Clark, and other authors of golden era of sci-fi and fantasy, because I personally feel I need such a literature. And this literature, moreover, not only I need this literature should exist for our humankind to be humans, to be worth living, because without that we will risk to end up in the Idiocracy film. Have you seen this movie? It's kind of it's exaggeration, but doesn't feel like a joke today. Ivan says, can development in functional and low-level languages protect developers in the labor market? Development of AI code generation, reduction of the need for developers. Do you mean can it allow people to last on the market and feel safe? No, well, low-level languages such as C and Rust and C++, they will always be more or less relevant because we still need to support a lot of devices and low-level systems such as operational systems and databases and etc. But all of those areas are niche. We build systems of a very high abstract level. We build services that utilize many levels below. So this is where the main development happens. Internet services, business applications, automation, and etc. And Java is popular because we need a lot of such systems. Low-level languages, they are in demand, but not as much as we used to have as it was before. So you can still learn it, you can still find a job, you can still stay on the market and feel fine. Maybe JavaScript will be a more efficient way to get money. Maybe Python will make you feel less pain because Python is an extremely simple language, right? Low-level languages are not simple and they require fundamentals. For example, how to work with memory, how the computer works, what is those low-level ideas such as stack, heap, algorithms, and etc. You will have jobs. You will have a job, but you will be feeling not very safe, I would say. What about functional languages? Even Scala, which was the most spread functional language ever, it's my opinion, it experiences problems because companies drop Scala as they do with Haskell and other functional languages. The initial driver for Scala was Akka, if I remember it correctly. It's a library for doing actors when the actors model was hot and in demand. Today, all other languages can provide you everything you need compared to Scala. And also, Scala has its own challenges. It moved from version 2 to version 3, and there are social problems, social friction that drives Scala back and holds it from development, from evolvement. So yeah, it's a very risky choice. I would say if you are very goal oriented, you will be fine in any language, because I don't work for maybe several years actively, right? But I can still find some activity that companies will pay for in Haskell or in other functional language. I can, if I want, if I'm very goal oriented, but it will take a little bit more time than usual, right? German Danilov says, what would you say about game development? Would you like to work there as a programmer or as a narrative writer or a game designer or any other role? Yeah, interesting. German is himself a game developer, at least in the past. If you are not today, please tell me and refresh my memory. But German was a developer in several companies, a game developer in several companies, and I feel this is your natural interest. I'm kind of a soft game developer too, because I wrote Tic-Tac-Toe, I wrote Tetris. I tried to develop various other games. I wrote some game that is close to not Pac-Man, to Superplex. So yeah, I have some games in my portfolio, but it's not very serious, right? Yeah, I personally don't want to be a programmer in game development, because it's not very simple. I don't want to be in stress. I don't know how is modern game development look, how it looks like today. I don't know, but it was like constant stress and overwork and too much time in doing things fast. That's not my my approach. I am a system thinking person. I am an engineer. I am architect. I produce knowledge, value, structure, and direction of work and framework of reasoning for others. In game development, it's not very needed, right? People do it in a different way. Game development is extremely different in this way. I would say being a narrative writer, narrative developer, or maybe content maker for game development is an interesting idea. Maybe writing a script or dialogues or a story itself, or being game designer. I would try that activity. I have well, we all do, but I have many ideas of games that are also unusual to the current market, right? No, we don't have any shortage of ideas in the game development, but maybe some of them worth implementing, maybe not, I don't know. So yes, it's interesting. It's interesting. I wouldn't be doing that today, but yeah, sure. Yeah, so I think we've discussed a lot of things. Let me tell you about my current writing activities before we finish. What I write about, it's real sci-fi. It's distinct point making real physics that is not in our real world, but it feels like real and can be investigated as real physics. It has own properties and can be mathematized. I want to build a world that will help me to discuss significant philosophical ideas. For example, the end of mathematics, the edge of knowledge, the depth of infinity, and how we can, what persons, what heroes will feel like in such situations. I want to talk about the end of knowledge itself, because in the current sci-fi literature, I don't see this topic to be elaborated in any way. Even more, I don't see any sci-fi today that is worth reading, unless maybe 5 titles, not more. We don't have sci-fi anymore in books. We have more or less sci-fi creations in movies, maybe. For example, Christopher Nolan produces sci-fi from time to time, but in books, maybe Liu Cixin was the last sci-fi writer that is worth reading. But yet we don't have new Lem, new Strugatsky, we don't have new Clark, and etc. This is my aim to be as significant as they as they were, and to create something real, something we can something that lasts forever, which is not guaranteed to happen for sure. We'll see, because when I started writing my books, for example this one, let me when I started writing my books, I've heard a lot of critics. People were saying, this is all bullshit, this won't work, this is not needed, we don't do that in Haskell, in other languages, you just say nonsense, etc., etc. People didn't even believe this knowledge is possible. They didn't even think the very category of this knowledge is possible. They either were lacking abstract reasoning or were lacking critical reasoning, one of the two. So yeah, I've experienced a lot of resistance to the ideas when I started writing, but I personally saw a lot of gaps in knowledge, a significant amount of gaps. I knew functional programming is not engineering yet. We had some attempts to build the engineering discipline for functional languages. For example, the translation of domain-driven design ideas to functional languages made by Scott Vlashin, right? By the way, Scott Vlashin provided me with an endorsement for this book, which I'm grateful to him and to other two persons, Bragilevsky and Gosh. So I saw these gaps. I knew the knowledge can be built. Functional programming can be engineering. I was talking about that on different resources, and people were answering, what engineering? What do you think we do? What do you think all those category theories and abstract algebra papers are? Isn't this soft engineering already? I said, no, it is not. And if you say so, you don't understand the meaning of engineering. And this made me being in opposition to the communities, and they didn't like that, because they do not tolerate opinions and people who are different from them. So yes, but my books prove this knowledge is needed, it can be built, and moreover it must be built for the sake of the truth. And the same thing I would say is in sci-fi and fantasy. I see a lot of gaps. I see a lot of gaps, and moreover I have an ability to fill them with the best possible quality. And this is probably not just a exaggeration. If you've read my books, you know my writing is clear, and my ideas are very novel. So I'll try to write something because I like this activity, and hopefully we will see more, maybe a new era of great literature, sci-fi or fantasy. I am most interested in sci-fi today. Yeah, but again, the market is absolutely horrible. It's absolutely difficult to publish a book, a sci-fi or a fantasy, on the English market if you are a white straight man. It's not a joke. White straight men are banned, mostly banned in many publishers. I don't exaggerate. It's not a lie. This statement has a lot of truth under. So there are many publishers, most of them, who said we don't need literature from those groups of people. We need literature from another underrepresented groups of people, and trying to penetrate this market or even being published is extremely difficult. In software engineering, it's not yet the problem, because mining publications, or maybe Pact from India and United Kingdom, or maybe A Press and other publishers, they accept material based on merit, not based on ideology. Literature is captured, unfortunately. What about Russian? I'm writing in Russian, and publishing it in Russian makes sense, well, more or less, because I don't have a reader for my books yet. The reader has left literature, because good reader, the reader I need, because that reader wants good quality, and the literature doesn't provide that. The modern literature doesn't provide quality, so they left in favor of games and movies and TV shows and etc. And it's difficult to rebuild once great literature of sci-fi and fantasy. Alexander says, what about why Haskell men? Many Haskellers say I am not a Haskeller. Even this statement is itself unhonest, right? Unjust and intellectually lazy, but they believe that very, very well. They believe it strongly. And many say, some of them say, they don't want me to be in Haskell at all. That's absolutely crazy. Those people don't have any mind, don't have any brain in their school. They are absolutely horrible and destructive for the community, but still they believe that. It's not a situation in Haskell, it's a situation in all the institutions. We have a huge problem with that, unfortunately. But I believe the era of new honesty will come eventually. And when it comes, I want to be prepared. I want to create something that could be recognized in that era. So this is why I'm writing my engineering books, and this is why I'm writing my sci-fi books. Well, that's it. Those are my points. Thank you for watching. Maybe you have any questions. Oh, let me drink something. By the way, this is the first stream of mine for maybe 6 months, and I fixed a lot of health issues related to sleeping. It turned out I have sleeping apnea undetected. I haven't visited a doctor yet. Maybe I should, but I didn't. And I don't have any official prescription that I have sleep apnea yet. I use the CPAP device for better breathing when sleeping, and this fixed a lot of problems. I had my speech being worse and worse from year to year, and my brains were destructing on a destruction path. I felt that. So yeah, hopefully this will help me to speak better. And this stream was the first since then. Maybe it's not very optimal yet, because you still need to practice. At least I think there is a progress for me. Alexander says, thank you for watching, because I know watching slow streams today kind of an investment, because I listen YouTube with 1.5 speed increase most often, right? And watching stream online requires some patience, right? Tolerance. So thank you all. That was pleasure to talk to you. Ivan says, thank you, good new haircut. Yeah, thank you. That's new image of mine. Yeah. Alexander says, get well. Yeah, yeah. You too. Feel healthy, do healthy things, and strive for the future. Yeah. Because if not we, then who? Right? Then nobody. That's it. Thank you all. Bye. TDA says thank you. Yeah, thank you too. Thank you too.